So today's lesson 2.5 is about compound inequalities. We're going to spend 2 days on this, so the first day is an introduction. So a compound inequality is kind of like a compound word. It's when two inequalities are happening at the same time. Sometimes those inequalities will be an and situation, so you'll see and sometimes there'll be an or. The and situation is talking about when there is an intersection, and the or situation is dealing with the union of them. So basically what you're doing is both inequalities separately and then finding their intersection or both of them happening at the same time. So what's going on here on the left side with the and is they've graphed x is greater than or equal to 2. They've graphed x is less than 5. And with both of them overlapped on the same graph, the in-between is what would qualify as the solution. Notice how they still use a closed circle as we did before because it has a line underneath for being included and the open circle when there is no line underneath. Now for the or situation, they often go other directions. They don't have to, but it happens more times than not. For this case, they went closed circle to the left because it's less than or equal to -2, open circle to the right because it's greater than. There's no intersection between those two, therefore it's an or situation because you could be one or the other. There's no way to satisfy both at the same time. Okay, so that's just what this talks about, is it doesn't have to be an overlap for and, it just happens more like that. And it doesn't have to be opposite directions for or, it just tends to happen more that way. So for this first example, we're turning it into a sentence, an inequality sentence. A number D is more than 0, and the number D is less than 10. So you can graph it first if you like. Sometimes that helps people to figure out what type it's going to be. So here's 0, open circle to the right. Here's 10, open circle to the left. The place that will be overlapped is in between. So this is an and inequality, okay, because there's an intersection. So we would put D in the middle, and we'd say that it is less than 10 and greater than 0. So that's my compound inequality. So for the second one, you're going to practice it, write them out separately, graph them, and from the graph, decide whether it's an and or an or. If there's no intersection, it's going to be an or. If you do see an intersection, you can write it as an and. The second page is giving you 2 examples of this, so you can read through these. It gives you for A, what the graph would look like, and each of them separately and then combined. Okay, and then same thing for B, that there's no overlap, so it's an or situation. Now, if you need to solve the compound inequality, you're going to solve each side the same way that you would if it were just one. So if we just had x minus 2 is less than 3, and if we just had -4 is less than x minus 2. So we'll do each of them separately. I'm going to add 2 to each side so that it will cancel in the middle. It's going to give me -2 is less than x is less than 5 because 3 plus 2 is 5. I'm going to go to my graph that I'll create myself. I'm going to put 0 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice how I'm not putting every number, but I am putting tick marks. -1, -2. Both open circles, open, open. And I'm going to read them separately with x coming first. X is greater than -2. X is less than 5. In order to satisfy both of those, we would be in between. This is an and situation. So here's my graph showing the in-between. So as you see me shading it like that, the darker, it's to show that that's the solution, that's the final answer. Here's the inequality that represents that. So here's another and one for you to try. As you move that 1 over to each side, you'll have that -2x done. When you divide both sides by a negative, you're going to change both signs. Reverse both inequality signs. Okay? The last thing you're going to be doing is solving one of the or inequalities. So I'll do this example for you, and then I have one for you to do yourself. So I'm going to solve them separately. I'm going to rewrite so it's in my handwriting. It tends to make it easier. Now I have 3y is greater than -3 because I've added the 5 over. Y is less than -1. Or, now the other one, 2y minus 1 is greater than 5. 2y is greater than 6, so y is greater than 3. Think about the situation. Can any number, so we're talking about any number would satisfy it, can any number be less than -1 and greater than 3? That's why this one's an or situation, because it's impossible for those two things to happen at the same time. Okay, it's one or the other. So here's my 0, 1, 2, 3, -1. Both open circles. Y is either greater than 3, so I'm going to shade to the right, or y is less than -1. I'll also shade to the left. So there's my graph, and here's my answer. It's important in an or situation that you write or as part of your answer. If you sign into Big Ideas, the ebook has tutorials next to several of the examples. It'll say tutorial, you can click on it. Your homework is written on your syllabus. You can just use one of the grid papers, but it is on page 85, and it tells you here what numbers you'll be doing.